Qassim, yeah? It's great to see you, everybody. Welcome and have a wonderful Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to all of you to the ITB press conference. Of course, it's March. Of course, it's the ITB, so the world comes to Berlin. And with that being said, our topic fits perfectly, the topic of this year's ITB 2024 together. So it's great to see you all. Thank you for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues of the press, thank you for the welcome to the ITB press conference, and again, thanks for joining us. So my name is Katie Gallus. I'm privileged to be guiding you through our press conference, and of course, I'm looking forward to your questions. Distinguished guests from our live stream, please feel welcome to also share your questions via Slido and the question box. And of course, the audience here in our room, please give us a hand sign with your question. You can also use the QR code that you see now behind me, and then your questions will be submitted into our question box. To start into our press conference, I welcome now on stage the CEO of Messe Berlin. Welcome to Dr. Mario Tobias.
Hello, Katie.
Hello, good morning. It is a great start into the ITB, to start into our week. So ITB, it's coming up. So how excited are you for the next busy days ahead?
Oh, I'm definitely very much excited. On the one hand, this is my first ITB since taking office last year. And on the other hand, I do know what our team has done over the last couple of months to prepare for this week where everyone's coming together.
Together is the keyword of the hour. So ITB together, the hashtag ITB together. How does it come and where and how do you see that in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. You will find it in many places because last time we were talking about changes. And if you want to do a positive thing out of change, you need a transition. And we do believe that we can only do this together, everyone in this industry. So this is why there are 5,500 exhibitors coming from nearly 170 countries, coming here to Berlin, visiting us at ITB, talking together. Yeah, doing all this stuff together. And we have the whole value chain. And I'm pretty much sure that we can get on with these challenges we have only if we work together, and this is what ITB stands for.
We talk about the challenges in a minute as well. So you mentioned, of course, ITB together, but also the keyword of transition, which comes now to the theme of the convention. The motto of the convention motto is pioneer the transition in travel and tourism together. So when we talk about transition, how important is it for the ITB Berlin?
Oh, I think it's very important. On the one hand, our own show evolved over all the years. So we are talking together today about digitalization. We have the sustainability as a great issue, climate change, diversity, short stuff of labor things, and we are discussing about all this here. So ITB is innovating every year again, and bringing all these people here together and talking about these issues. I think this is the way forward. And
so what does it mean? Innovation on the exhibition ground. Where does the innovation come from?
Oh, you will see it because you can now take the whole circle again. We renovated 5 halls altogether, so there's an open hall 8, 10, and 11 again, and you will find the exhibitors in these places. And of course, we did some new things. For instance, all the Germany-speaking countries, they are present in hall 27. By now, we have a very strong tech sector this year. And you find a lot of innovations. We will have the luxury brands in the Marshall House. We will have the sustainability, diversity issues. So yeah, there's a lot of things to discover.
What about the ITB Bio Circle? Take us to that as well.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a unique selling point of ITB, being the largest platform in the world. We have about 1,300 top buyers from all over the world coming here. 40% of them are new, so you can really make new connections to the people that should buy your products and see and sell them. And they will be in the Palais at the Funkturm, and I think this is some very special thing that you can see over the internet, and of course, well, meeting these people live here. The Buyers Club is definitely one of the top USPs of ITB Berlin.
Let's zoom in more into the exhibitors. So some of the exhibitors, they might have a larger presence. Maybe you can share with us some ideas on what has changed when it comes to the exhibitors' presence.
Yeah, there are a lot of countries that are here today with a larger booth, namely it's Turkey or Greece. We have some that came back after a little pause, like Liechtenstein or the Emirates Airlines. We have some newcomers like Air India or Disney Cruises. They're back. Of course, China is back with a huge booth and a lot of co-exhibitors. And we're very, very proud and very honored that the Arab countries, especially, of course, our host country, Oman, is very big this year in Hall 2.2. But also some African countries. And we see with a lot of segments, like the tech industry, for instance, that they are dealing with these issues of artificial intelligence and the tech sector. We will have a lot of presentations from them. So I think that's the whole world, the whole value chain of the tourism industry is represented here.
When we zoom in again to the ITB Berlin convention and the program, can you share with us some highlights, or is it really difficult to pick any highlights because there are so many?
Yeah, how much time do we have? I mean, there are 4 stages. We will have 17 different topics, issues, and we will have some 300-400 speakers all in all. So I think the ITB convention is definitely like the biggest think tank there is in the world, and when it comes to tourism industries. So you get some brand new insights into the developments of these markets, into new tech developments. And I think the speakers are here to give everyone their insight into things, and you can discuss this with them. So this is what ITB stands for. You have the connection to your customers, can make business, you get the insights from the speakers, talk about visions and the mission to go there. Yeah, and you do this networking thing. And I think, the convention is one of the major blocks of this and one of the USPs also at ITB.
And really coming together again when we look into the
Exactly.
motor. You mentioned the Sultanate of Oman, the official ITB host country. So what does it have to offer from your perspective, the Sultanate of Oman, and what is in the store when we look into the official host country? Yeah,
we are very excited about the presentation of the Undersecretary in a moment, but I think they will offer a lot to see and a lot to experience. This is definitely a slogan, experience Oman. So we're very proud that after a long time that it took because of the pandemic, that today ITB will be opened with Oman being the host country. And I had the pleasure yesterday to look at the rehearsals of the Oman Symphony Orchestra. They will play tonight at the opening ceremony. So I think they will be a great partner country this year, and we're really much looking forward to the presentation, not only in both of the halls, 2.2 and 4, but also with the ceremony tonight.
Well, that's a big cliffhanger now for tonight.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that. When we look into the ITB days, of course, it's the second in-person ITB now. We went all digital during the pandemic. We all remember these times, right? When digitalization came up. And of course, the ITB echoes also digitalization in its way forward, in its shape. So when it comes to digitalization at ITB Berlin, what can you tell us? What can you share with us? What has changed since and what is really sticking out? Yeah,
I think we all feel the same after these long years where you could just meet people via the internet and see people in all these video calls. It's really good to meet person to person again. This is what ITB stands for. We will have guests from all over the world coming here. And I think this is the one part. But of course, not everyone could come here. So through ITB Explore in the internet, you can also be a member of the ITB community, download the app when you're here, but be in the internet. And for instance, as you mentioned, the Buyers Circle, the top Buyers Circle, you will find them also in our web community. So over let's say, 360 degree, the full circle, and over 365 days a year, you can be a member of this ITB community, and I think this is some very important thing. So what we're doing is we try to bring together digital world and the physical world here in Berlin.
So there are the formats digitally and, of course, on-site here, offline. You call it ITB community. I always call it the ITB family when it comes together. Which gatherings do stick out and which formats? You mentioned just a few, but when it comes to networking, when it comes to coming together again, which format should we not miss out when it comes to networking?
This is full-packed 3 days, so you shouldn't miss anything. But there are some special formats when it comes, of course, to the stages where all the presentations are. But we also have the Chinese night. We have the exhibitors night. We have the ceremony this day. We have a lot of networking events that take place over this 3 days. So I think shouldn't miss anything. And if you missed something, there will be an ITB in China in May. There will be an ITB in India in September. There will be the ITB Asia in Singapore in October. So, yeah, as you said, the family is all around the world, and we're very happy to meet you here tonight and hopefully for a long time in the future.
Thank you. Thank you to Dr. Mario Tobias. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The only challenge is now to squeeze everything into our calendars, of course, ladies and gentlemen, but we are here to give you some guidance at the press conference. Before we travel to the official host country, to the official ITB host countries, to the Sultanate of Oman in person, we have some visuals for you. Thank you for that sunshine already, and I saw a lot of smiles in the room. And with these visuals, I'd like to introduce now on stage His Excellency Azzan bin Qassim Al Busaidi. He's the Undersecretary for Tourism at the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism of the Sultanate of Oman.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Thank you, Katie, for your kind introduction. May I begin by saying what a pleasure it is to be here today and what an honor it is for the Sultanate of Oman to be the host country for this most important event in the travel and tourism calendar. Indeed, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Messe Berlin for their splendid efforts. We greatly look forward to this opportunity to showcase Oman's tourism offer and to give a taste of the warmth of our legendary hospitality, to share insights into our rich heritage, vibrant living traditions, musical artistry, and the delights of our cuisine. We are excited to have this chance to present the breathtaking beauty of our country to the world and our spectacular coastline, framed by majestic granite mountains, lined by pristine beaches and scattered with idyllic desert islands and coral reefs. Our canyons, caves, and fjords, misty waterfalls, and lush greenery. The shimmering desert dunes that define the heart of Oman. All this combines in a truly outstanding natural environment that is home to a unique treasure chest of animal, plant, and marine life. And here at the ITB Berlin, we are eager to give a window into the rich variety of incredible experiences available for the visitor in our shores throughout the year. Adventure activities like scuba diving, kite surfing, mountain hiking, and desert safari for thrill seekers, exclusive resorts and spas for the luxury travelers, serene retreats and eco-lodges for nature enthusiasts, and much more. Certainly, Oman has an exceptional tourism offer. One that is defined by its authenticity and one that stands out for its diversity. It is said that a visit to Oman fosters an unforgettable connection, a life-affirming experience, a gift for life, if you will. It is not surprise, therefore, that tourism in Oman is going from strength to strength, that more and more visitors are coming to our tranquil shores. Last year, we welcomed a record-breaking 4 million visitors, up from 2.9 million in 2022, a rise of almost 38%. 231,000 of these visitors were from Germany, up by 182% on the previous years, I'm pleased to say. These numbers are growing not only thanks to our many outstanding attractions, but also thanks to Oman's strategic location at the crossroads of continents. Less than 3 hours flight from 30% of the world's population. But in today's highly competitive global marketplace, all these natural advantages are not enough. To succeed, we need to have a tourism offer that's exceptional, plus an industry framework and support network that's robust and resilient. At the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism, we are focused on creating an environment where tourism can flourish and grow, streamlining visa application processes and easing visa restrictions for citizens of over 100 countries, investing in infrastructure and attractions like the new double zip line in Qassim, the longest in the world over water, Oman Across Ages Museum just outside of Nizwa, and Oman Botanic Gardens in Muscat. Bringing all this within easy reach for the visitor is a network of first-class roads regularly ranked as among the best in the world. In fact, we have ambitious plans for our tourism sector with over $5.9 billion worth of investments, currently funneled into 360 projects, strongly focused on Oman's 2050 net zero targets. Sustainable practices is our responsibility for future generations. These ranges from hotel accommodations and resorts to the preservation of heritage sites and historical monuments. A total investment of $31 billion is targeted by 2040. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Berlin, over the next few days, we will be reflecting and defining the future of tourism together. And as we look into the future of our own tourism industry in Oman, we are mindful of our responsibilities to future generations, seeking to create a proud legacy for our children and grandchildren as we build capacity to open up opportunities for ambitious young talent and collaborate with communities to ensure that sustainability is the forefront of our development. In all this, we prioritize the protection of our precious natural environment and bear in mind at all times the important role tourism has as a tool for cultural understanding and a bridge for peace in these unprecedented times. I could go on. We have so much to offer, and there is much more to come. But I do not want to delay proceedings any longer. However, before I finish, I would like to thank all of you today, and I would like to express my deep appreciation to Dr. Mario Tobias and Messe Berlin's team, and to all media representatives present here today with us for all of their tremendous support and assistance. We are looking forward for the days ahead, and I hope one day to be able to welcome you in person in Oman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And our next speaker now brings on stage current figures of the global travel industry and, of course, an outlook on 2024. She is the Senior Vice President when it comes to research and product strategy at Phocuswright. So please welcome Charuta Fadnis. Hello.
Hello. Good to be here.
Welcome back to Berlin.
Thank you.
What keeps you busy these days at ITB?
So much. I'm looking forward to all the sessions. So many great speakers here. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, anytime I come here, I see so many old friends and make new ones. That's our industry. So that's what's going to keep me busy.
It's great to have you. And you brought some figures for us. The stage is yours.
I did. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be back here in ITB Berlin as we pioneer the transition in travel and tourism together. I think one thing we can all agree on is that the travel industry is always transforming. And as a large part of the global economy, we are buffeted by economic factors, changes in societal norms, by technology and environmental changes. But as an industry, our gaze is firmly on the future. So let's start with what the market looks like from a sizing perspective. In 2023, we eclipsed 2019 in terms of global travel gross bookings. That's the total transaction value of travel sold. And what we expect to see now is a normalization of the rate of growth. Much of the rise in gross bookings over the past couple of years was driven by price increases rather than by traveler numbers. And now we're seeing that inflationary impact come down. So overall growth rates will also normalize. We expect them to go back to the pre-2019 sort of single digits. But gross bookings in 2024 and 2025 will exceed $2 trillion. That's far above where we were in 2019. Now, as a global industry, we're also glad to see that there's like a regional shift where we're shifting back to normal. So in 2019, we saw that North America, EMEA, APAC had about a third, give or take a couple of percentage points here and there, but it was evenly split. As we were seeing the recovery in 2022, we saw that shift heavily towards North America and EMEA as those regions opened up before the Asian countries. And from 2023 onwards, we're seeing Asia gain some share back. By 2025, we'll see Asia go back almost to 2019 levels, and we'll see a slight shift with Europe declining a little bit. And yet, we still see some challenges. Inflation is abating, but we're seeing a small impact from geopolitical issues and the wars. And we've been talking about staff shortages the last couple of years. Well, jobs in the tourism industry are coming back, and we're talking less about those staffing shortages. But staffing also means diversity. Women are a huge proportion of the industry, and according to WTTC's latest figures, in 2021, the industry employed directly about 40 million women, which is great, but it's still lower than where we were in absolute terms in 2019. So we have some way to go there. And we can't talk about travel and not talk about sustainability. 2023 was the warmest year on record. Annual average temperatures came close to that 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold set in the Paris Agreement. And for travel and tourism, the Glasgow Declaration was very clear about the scenarios for climate change action. We either have to decouple tourism from emissions, net zero, or we have to accept that we have to curb the global tourism industry. The second scenario is unlikely. So there's only one option, really. The industry has to take action. And more so because we're not seeing travelers take action to the same extent. Individual consumers don't perceive it to be their job to take part in every sustainability initiative. Travelers are less willing to take personal responsibility when they're traveling, and they're more likely to make small changes. So we see only 3 to 8% bought carbon offsets for their last trip. We see that sustainability is not among the top 5 considerations when they're making hotel choices. And we see the confusion about certifications because there's no real standard. So they don't drive decisions. And then the last part, technology. I don't think we can avoid talking about generative AI anymore. We have seen so many companies embrace generative AI, especially the larger ones with deep pockets in travel who are experimenting with it. We're seeing new startups come into the picture as well. And consumers have embraced Gen AI as well. More than 70% say they've heard of it, they're aware of generative AI. Usage is still limited, of course, because there aren't that many functional tools. But that awareness is translating into comfort. Anywhere from a third to half of all consumers in the 7 countries that we surveyed said they're comfortable using Gen AI to plan a trip. And there's so many use cases in travel, from travel planning and itineraries to customer support, recruitment, training, marketing content, chatbots with conversational capabilities that make it really easy for consumers to decide. It's difficult to keep track of everything that's happening around us because things are changing so fast. What's really clear is that Gen AI has democratized AI. We've moved away from machine learning and all the esoteric terms there. What's coming up next are autonomous agents. Software that can do online tasks for us on our behalf without us having to lift a finger. It's all automatic. So whatever you think of AI, just remember that Gen AI will be transformative. We will be talking about it over the next few years. The travel industry certainly cannot ignore it. But I think it's also important to remember that we do tend to overestimate the effect of any new technology in the short run. And we tend to underestimate its effect in the long run. So there's something for the travel industry to think about. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a lot of food for thought. Stay with us another minute, because when we look into the figures and the graphics that you brought, when we zoom into the region of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, what you said is that the share of the total travel market goes down in the coming years.
Yes.
How can that happen, and why do you think so?
Well, keep in mind we're talking about it in terms of the dollar figures, right? Gross bookings. I think there's a couple of things. Europe really is at the forefront of shifting from, air to rail. There's that substitution effect that's coming into play, and so there's a little bit of shift there. There's also that we're normalizing, some of the share is going back to Asia. And then Europe, again, sustainability plays a big factor. We're seeing these tourist caps coming in, right? We're seeing fees being introduced. We're seeing entry being limited to certain times. So I think that those things, all the good things, will have an impact. That's what we're expecting in the next few years.
What I also noted down is travelers are not embracing sustainability during their trips How can that be? Can you explain it a little bit more?
Absolutely. So I think what's interesting and what's important to understand is that travelers care about sustainability. You know, it's not that they don't care about sustainability. I think what is incumbent upon us as an industry to make sure that they have the information that they need at the time that they need it. And I think that's where the industry needs to, get better. Because what travelers are saying to us is that it's confusing, all the information that they're seeing. It's very hard to get to the information. It's very hard to know if they can trust the information. And so I think there's an educate is what I would say. Make it easy for the traveler because they want to do the right thing.
And then, of course, artificial intelligence, that was your third keyword, generative AI. You talked about the chances and the possibilities, of course, and the outlooks. What are the challenges for the companies? To talk a little bit about the obstacles as well.
I could go on for a long time, but let me just say this. I think what it comes down to is trust. Our consumers going to be able to trust generative AI. Because there are, we're already seeing, say, for example, reviews. We're seeing a huge uptick in reviews that are not written by people, but by bots, by generated by the Gen AI tools. So how do you know that those are real? We are now seeing technology move on where there are fake pictures, right? Text can now be converted to video. So how do you know that something is real and not generated by AI? So I think those issues will come to the forefront with Gen AI in the next couple of years as tools come in.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you at the ITB Berlin.
Thank you.
Charuta Fadnis, thank you. We have more numbers, we have more facts, and of course a closer look into the German outbound travel. With us is the president of the German Travel Association. I welcome now on stage Norbert Fiebig.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kathy. A warm welcome to all of you from my side as well. As we are all aware, these are challenging times, ladies and gentlemen, and we are facing climate change, witnessing digital transformation with all the implications to our working environment and to our markets. And ladies and gentlemen, we are living in times of socio-political change and geopolitical instability. To my great dismay, the war in Ukraine is still raging, and now a new conflict in the Middle East has arisen, initiated by the awful terroristic attacks. These shocking events contrast everything we believe in. The tourism sector is, ladies and gentlemen, relies on a peaceful and on peace and stability. It is in our DNA of our people-to-people industry. We play an active part in promoting international understanding, tolerance, and friendship. And of course, we sincerely believe that common sense will prevail over war and violence. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, I spoke about the German Reisehunger. It is a combination of words meaning more or less hungry for travel. Today, I can tell you that this appetite has not been satisfied, quite the opposite. The Germans' desire to travel is stronger as ever. And that continues to do so, despite the many global uncertainties we are currently facing. Germans are eager to go on holiday, and this is reflected when viewing the travel bookings. Holiday spending is on a record level. Since last summer, the German holiday travel market has maintained a constantly high level of bookings, outperforming both the prior year and even the period before the pandemic. Not only is turnover increasing, the number of travelers is also on a rise again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the long-haul business is also on an upswing. The German tour operator market saw a 31% increase in sales for long-haul tourism products. The same actually is true for cruises, which are already enjoying particularly strong demand this year, both for the ocean as well as for the river cruises. The volume of bookings and at the beginning of the year has exceeded the expectations of cruise operators. Cruises are outperforming once again the market as a whole. For the upcoming summer season, we currently see an increase in sales of 41% compared to last year. The number of cruise guests booked for the summer has already slightly exceeded the pre-corona level. Last year, we managed to cross the magic threshold and outdid the sales figures of the benchmark year of 2019. Germans spent a record amount of more than 79 billion euros on travel, an increase of 27%. And ladies and gentlemen, 47% of overall expenditure were challenged to the organized travel market. Germans are once again increasingly relying on the security as well as on the flexibility on package tours. Another trend from last year hasn't subsided. The early birds are very active again. Bookings are being made increasingly far ahead of the date of holiday. This year, the early birds have set their alarm clocks even earlier. Sales for the upcoming summer season have already exceeded those of the record summer of 2019, with more than 40% of the volume of summer 2023 already booked by the end of January. Ladies and gentlemen, when we look where the Germans travel to, it's more or less the same as ever. Sun, beach are still on the top of the list of the preferences of the holidaymakers. As of January, Turkey has overtaken Spain as the most popular summer package holiday destination in the field of organized travel, followed by Greece. Egypt is currently in fourth place. Egypt is also particularly popular in the current winter season, which with a 30% increase in sales for the destination airport of Hurghada compared to the pre-corona period. The Canary Islands, the Maldives, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates are also ranking high when viewing the winter holiday destinations from the German perspective. We see Germans want to travel, ladies and gentlemen, and they are traveling. 25% of respondents to a recent GfK survey said that they intend to spend more or even significantly more for their holidays this year than last year. The current increase in turnover of 13% for the current winter season compared to the record year of 2019 and the 11% if we look for the upcoming summer is quite impressive. However, the number of travelers is still lacking. There are currently 14% fewer travelers in the current tourism year. It goes without saying, ladies and gentlemen, Germans are quite sensitive when it comes to cost, always looking for a good price-value deal or for bargains. When Germans perceive a destination as driving up prices heavily, they consider to quickly move on to another holiday region. For destinations and suppliers, this means they have to be very careful when adjusting prices. Otherwise, they may lose German holidaymakers. The travel industry, ladies and gentlemen, is a highly competitive, low-margin business. Our operators cater all segments from the budget side to the luxury side. For our industry, it's particularly important that travel remains affordable, especially for average earners and families with children. We do everything we can to continue to provide holidaymakers and business travelers with good, with reliable offers at a fair price, while also meeting our climate protection and our corporate responsibility requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, last year, extreme weather events and numerous wildfires called climate change and the necessity for sustainability back to mind. As an industry, we must keep up our efforts to counter the negative effects in this area. The biggest challenge, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of greenhouse gases is in that context of travel, the mobility aspect, especially air travel. There can be no doubt, and we have to make it clear, ladies and gentlemen, without mobility, there is no travel. Therefore, we have to work on reducing the emission of greenhouse gases, limit to use the fossil fuels, and steer towards carbon neutral future. Our industry, ladies and gentlemen, is highly committed, but we need the support of policymakers in order to achieve the goals of emission-neutral travel, especially in fostering innovations and climate-friendly technologies. Sustainably produced aviation fuels are essential for our industry. Unfortunately, I must say, the financial support for the development of sustainable fuels is being waived. I believe that the German government should reconsider and set its priorities correctly. We need to spearhead environmental-friendly travel, and we should make the effort. Otherwise, the entire travel industry will be put on risk. I say, if you want climate protection, you have to provide the financial framework. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have to overcome the boundaries and restrictions when it comes to travel. Visa regimes must be designed in such a way that they are easy to handle, processing is quick, and the costs are manageable. We can, ladies and gentlemen, there is no question, the world benefits from travel in a great way. Traveling connects people, promotes tolerance and understanding, opens up new horizons. Traveling is a clear commitment to peaceful and respectful coexistence, for a world in which curiosity is stronger than prejudice. Let us travel, ladies and gentlemen, so we can make the world a better place. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Fiebig. Before we dive into some keywords that you just mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for boarding already, almost, for your questions in a second. So please submit your questions. Give me a hand sign for the audience here on site, and then we will gather your questions in a second here in our Q&A session. And Mr. Norbert Fiebe, you just mentioned, of course, different keywords. I'd like to point to the economic importance when it comes to the tourism and travel industry, especially in the emerging countries. What would you like to highlight here when it comes to the economic development of the travel and tourism industry?
We have, as an industry, we have a big impact on the economic situation of the receiving destinations. There are more than 500 billion US dollars generated to the emerging and developing countries, and they very much rely on our business, on the travel business, and for some of that destinations, tourism, from the financial point of view, does allocate some or even more than 40% of their total GDP, and we are a job creator in that destinations, and with the economic stability, we are part of stabilizing, and what the effect is of our business. We are stabilizing, apart from the economic effect, the social environment, and as well we have a big impact on the sustainable side, looking to some destinations, what happened when we had no traffic anymore during Corona. For example, 200,000 employees are just related to the business we are bringing to the North Africa countries. So there's a big impact, and we feel responsible to continue to do so, and that is a partnership we are having, and that is to the advantage of both sides.
Thank you for zooming in into that topic as well. Now the stage is already set up. Magic happens here on stage. So I kindly invite our speakers again here on stage, Dr. Mario Tobias, His Excellency Azzan bin Qassim Al Busaidi, and Charuta Fadnis. Please join us on stage for our Q&A session. And as I mentioned, we are ready for boarding. We are on our runway for your questions. So please, dear directors, we have some questions coming in. And the first question goes to His Excellency. His Excellency. The question from our audience, I quote here, Oman is considered by many as a boutique destination. How can over-tourism be avoided in the long term?
To start with, I think a boutique destination, as I said, it's considered, it's a perception. We're trying to introduce more in what Oman has to offer. Primarily today, I spoke about adventure tourism. In the pavilion over here in ITB, we'll be showcasing culinary arts as well. And I believe that this just adds into the mix. It makes it more diverse and of a variety. But talking about over-tourism, it is one of our ministry's top priorities, sustainability and keeping the sector a sector that positively contributes towards the economic growth in the country, and most importantly, does not overdo it, when it comes to jeopardizing our net zero targets and our sustainability practices. So I think being balanced between, growing and trying not to overdo in this specific sector is something that we are trying to achieve.
But how do you do it? How do you find the balance? Because finding balance, as in real life, it's not always as easy as it sounds.
I agree, but there are a number of initiatives. So, for example, we choose our target markets quite carefully. We make sure that we don't, run promotional activities in a massive manner. So they are top markets that we target. They are markets in the region that we know of a specific season. When it comes to supply, when it comes to the supply as well in the tourism sector, that's one of the ways that we are doing it. The ministry regulates the leisure market, so being able to control the number of licensed hotels and inns and service companies in a way that does not create this over-tourism as stated in the question.
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying. Let's dive into the next question to Mr. Tobias. Is this year's ITB exclusively for trade visitors, or can I also come by to get offers for my next holiday? A quote from the audience.
Exactly, after the pandemic, that's what the trade exhibitors discussed, but this is purely focusing on a B2B networks. So this is just for the trade visitors, but as all the top buyers are here and as the community is here, they will function as an agent and will give everyone, as being a private consumer, then the best ideas where to travel next.
Where to travel next, finding inspiration. So I'd like to invite you, ladies and gentlemen, do I see any hand signs? Please, be brave. The world belongs to the brave. I see one in the first row. Do I see more? Hang on, I'll just quickly stand up so I can't. Ah, wonderful. Second row as well. Where is the microphone? Please, tell us who you are quickly, and then we forward to the next row. And from which media you are coming from. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andreas Scholz, aviation and business travel journalist from Hamburg, addressing His Excellency, again concerning the MICE business. How is this growing and high-value business positioned in the strategic tourism profile of Oman? How you focus on that special segment? Thank you.
His Excellency.
Thank you indeed. It's a very, very important question, especially from an economic perspective. The economic contribution of MICE travelers is larger than leisure travelers. So knowing that in the ministry, we do have a special force or task force that takes care of promoting Oman as a MICE destination and making sure that the infrastructure in Oman is utilized in a way where Oman can actually compete. Having said that, the region we are in is very competitive when it comes to MICE business. There's plenty of countries that are trying to achieve a similar target. At the end of the day, I believe that what we do is we focus on key priorities. Today, in fact, two of the most, I would say, top events in Oman, one has to do with sustainability and the other one has to do with green energy. So I think mixing all of these priorities together makes Oman enjoying a competitive advantage, even when we're trying to target for MICE business.
Thank you. The second row, I haven't overseen you, so please take the microphone, tell us who you are and your concrete and precise question.
Yes, hello, my name is Nette Nöstlinger from Reuters.
Sorry, can you step a bit forward so we're going to get you on the camera as well, and then now we got you. All right, I can hear you. Please
yes,
follow.
From Reuters. I have a question to Mr. Fiebig, too, if I may. So you said that last year Germans spent 79 billion euros on travel. Do you have an estimate for this year, maybe? And then the second question would be concerning the German government and their priorities. Could you maybe specify your demands when it comes to travel and sustainability? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So we start with the first one. How many billions of euros will the Germans spend on travel? What's
So yes, last year that was overall and subject. Okay.
I think the microphone is switched off. Can we hear you? Just try it again. Was it switched off?
So here we are.
Can we get a hand microphone otherwise? Hang on, sorry.
Doesn't it work?
Thank you very much.
It works. It works again. Does it? Okay.
I'll keep it with
Sorry.
me. That's, yeah,
Sorry.
perfect.
The question was, what is our expectation? How is sales developing the coming season? What I was mentioning, at the very moment, and that is due to the situation that people do book earlier and earlier. The early birds are there. So we have for the summer season some 30% increase in sales so far. I don't expect that to last until the end of the season, but I'm pretty positive that we see once more a significant growth in sales. And the other point of view was, I was mentioning it, the number of clients, of PACs, is still below what we had, and that is a reference we are always doing, the pre-corona year 2019, but the gap is shrinking. So in the way the inflation is not as heavy as it used to be. So we are quite positive this year will be a very good year for the industry as well.
And the second question was about the concrete demands towards the German government when it comes to the travel and tourism industry.
So what we have seen, so we have a so-called a tax on flights, Luftverkehrssteuer, that was established, and we saw a substantial rise in the tax demand. What we would love to see is that money received through that tax, once you are flying, you need to pay a specific tax for flights. We want to see that that money allocated to develop, to support development. The only way to get out of the challenge we are having at the moment is technology. We need carbon-free fuels, sustainable aviation fuel, and there needs to be put a lot of effort in that is technological and logistical feasible, and we would love to see that money allocated to that. What we've seen in the budget so far, that it was entirely ripped out. There used to be, until 2028, an amount of 2 billion euros allocated to that technology support, and that was entirely ripped out. And therefore, we are stating, if you want sustainability, you need to create the financial framework in order to get that technology done.
Thank you for that. Do I see more hand signs? I stand up again. Do I see more? I thought there were some more here on the side. Otherwise, I have a look into the online audience. So do we have more online questions? Let's have a look. I only see... Here we go. Charuta, I think this goes into your direction. Does the topic of sustainability possibly take a backseat against the backdrop of the current issues? You mentioned, and you were diving into the topic of sustainability. Give us a little deep dive on that.
I don't think it takes a backseat. I don't think it can afford to take a backseat. Let's put it that way. I think what we have to do as an industry, as I said, is put more money behind the technology. We have to scale up things like sustainable aviation fuels. I mean, right now, about 1.1% of the fuels being used are sustainable aviation fuels, right? That's a huge portion. So if we want to meet our commitment to net zero by 2050, we have to make an effort. That means that, governments have to make an effort. That means companies in the travel industry have to make an effort. And certainly, other issues will always come up, but we have to kind of push towards a sustainable future, for sure.
Thank you. More questions from our digital audience? Let's have a look into the next question. Also, again, we were saying at this eco-fuel and the sustainable aviation fuel topic, that's a hot topic as I can see here. Mr. Fiebig, this question goes also into your direction. You have criticized the German government for suspending the support of the eco-fuel for aircraft. Could you elaborate on that? You mentioned already, of course. Yeah. Just in a nutshell, again, what's the message?
The message is...
Mr. Habeck, maybe?
the message is to get the financial resources in order to speed up the process. The earlier the quantity of needed sustainable aviation fuel is in the market, the sooner we are making what we need to do, and we need the direction of a carbon at least neutral travel, and that is not feasible without the sustainable aviation fuel. And for that reason, that is so important, looking to the entire travel chain. If you want, some 80% of the carbon footprint relates to the mobility, relates to more or less to travel, and therefore we need to focus and we need to push very hard that the framework is in the right way, which enable us to go into the direction which is absolutely needed.
Yeah, and Katie, if I may add to that, we talk about sustainable aviation fuels, and we talk about them almost like you could easily substitute conventional fossil fuels. That's not the case. There needs to be an entire infrastructure that needs to be built, right, from production all the way to getting those fuels to the aircraft. So that requires a huge investment, and I think that's where we really need to focus on, to Norbert's point.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing in the value chain here as well. We have one more question here, I think, from the online audience, and please be still brave. We are still boarding here our questions, so please give me a hand sign. But Mario, Tobias, this question goes to you because we've mentioned early in our chat the ITB family and the ITB community. Now this question picks that up, that the ITB increasingly focuses on the global family of all 4 trade fairs when we look into India and China. So how do they benefit from each other? And of course, the question if there are impulses from India and China that they adopt for Berlin and vice versa. So is there really a, going forward, a messaging forward way?
Yeah, there absolutely is. All the teams are working very closely together. So the Berlin-based headquarter team, but also our teams in Shanghai or our teams in Singapore. So they're in a weekly exchange. Of course, all the topics that are played here at ITB in Berlin will be played in the other 3 shows as well. When it goes about my sector, when it comes to tech questions, sustainability is an issue everywhere. And there's a very good, in both directions, vice versa, exchange. And of course, what we do see is that exhibitors that have been taking part in one of the regional shows come to Berlin maybe the year after to be part of this hugest and biggest World Trade Show in the world. So there's a very good exchange and it's a good teamwork.
Wonderful. So I stand up again. Do I see you? Are there any more hand signs? There is one more hand sign here. Wonderful. Tell us who you are and from which media you're coming from. The microphone is on your left. Already there. Thank you.
Alice Kanderian, Ararat. Thank you, Excellency, for pointing out that this, what we need tourism, it's very important for culture and in order to bring peace. And I would like to address my question to Mr. Tobias. You said earlier that it's very, you are talking about the ITB community and how important it is. And at the same time, you are pointing out that we have the ITB now also in China and India and Singapore. Do you see it also somehow counterproductive for the ITB for Berlin, for the mother, let's say, of all the ITBs for the world-leading trade fair? Because we have witnessed a reduction when it's coming to the trade fair days. And then maybe you can also make a comment again on the house of luxury, which is a homo luxury, sorry. And how do you see it when it comes talking about comparing to the other luxury events, like the ILTM in Cannes?
Merci, thank you.
Yeah, you will find this in the Marshall House. It's a very, very special location. And so when they built this up, we are playing with all these segments there are. Yeah, we are talking about glamorous camping, we're talking about the luxury stuff, we're talking about trekking, and so on. So you will find it here, and I think it will be growing over the years to come. because there's a real good financial segment behind this, and there are a lot of people that want to invest in this and pay for real luxury traveling, and you can find it there. For your first questions, I think they really strengthen each other. So it's not that the ITB China or ITB India takes something away from ITB in Berlin. I think they can grow together, and you see that only after 2 years after the pandemic, we are back on the same level, being the world's biggest trade show here, and I think this community or this family of ITB shows, and we're thinking about how can we promote them in, as we said, in India, in China, and for the southeast of Asia. I think they grow together very well. They go together well, and they grow together very well, and they do support the headquartered Berlin-based trade fair. Definitely, yes.
Thank you. We are coming back in our last question round here now to the topic of sustainability, which is a topic, of course, again here when it comes to the online questions. Mr. Fiebig, I would direct that to you. What sustainability goals do the tourism industry have, and how quickly can the industry become climate neutral?
Again, that very much depends on what the framework is going to be, and when for example, we were talking about that the sustainable aviation fuel is in the wide quantity available. I would like to add one other point, and that is a big challenge as well. So we can't at the moment, so people are interested in sustainability, no doubt about that. But at the final end, at the counter, deciding for booking, sustainable aspects you were talking about that are not as much in the focus as they should be. And we as an industry, we are committed, and I believe we are doing a lot. But what we need to achieve is the sensitivity, to increase more and more the sensitivity of our clients. That will push the thing entirely again. So coming from both sides, the industry and the demand, specific sustainable demand of the clients, and there we need to work, there we need to push harder.
Thank you very much for this round, and of course for your attendance, for your questions, ladies and gentlemen, for your answers. Thank you to His Excellency Azzan bin Qassim Al Busaidi. Thank you to Charuta Fadnis, to Dr. Mario Tobias, and to Norbert Fiebig. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for attending. Thanks for joining us digitally. Thanks for submitting your questions. Of course, ITB is back in Berlin. The world is back in Berlin, so make the best out of it in the upcoming days. I wish you fruitful discussions and exciting new destinations to explore and to discover. Thank you very much for your attendance. All the best.